recession. Do you think it is likely that the United States will dip into a recession because of President Trump's tariffs?
I think that right now we are at a decision-making point and very close to a recession. And I'm worried about something worse than a recession if this isn't handled well. A recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP, and whether it goes slightly there, we always have those things. We have something that's much more profound. We have a breaking down of the monetary order. We are going to change the monetary order because we cannot spend the amounts of money, so we have that problem. And when we talk about the dollar and we talk about tariffs, we have that. We are having profound changes in our domestic order, how ruling is existing, and we're having profound changes in the world order. Such times are very much like the 1930s. I've studied history, and this repeats over and over again. So if you take tariffs, if you take debt, if you take the rising power challenging the existing power, if you take those factors and look at the factors, those changes in the orders, the systems, are very, very disruptive. How that's handled could produce something that is much worse than a recession.
Well, the value of the dollar is absolutely plummeting. I mean, how much of a concern is that?
It's hugely concerning, especially the price of gold tipping over $3,400 an ounce. That means the dollar is weakening, and that always leads to future inflation. Since 2023, the gold's gone from $1,800 to $3,400 an ounce. That's a sure sign we're going to have a weak dollar ahead, which means ultimately turbulence and higher prices in the marketplace. Just look at the 1970s and we can see where that leads unless something is done about it now. But I don't see any sign that the authorities have any idea constructively of what to do, sadly.
What's very different here is normally when stocks go down as much as they have, there's a flight to quality, and quality becomes defined as U.S. Treasuries and the U.S. dollar. In this particular downdraft in the market, we're seeing Treasury yields go up and the dollar weaken. That's kind of an alarming trend. To me, that's flashing yellow that something is going on here more than just deleveraging.
In his 2014 article titled Hyperbitcoinization, Daniel Krawisz introduced a compelling scenario that he called Hyperbitcoinization. And at that time, BTC, BCH, and BSV had not yet split, and they were all part of the same original Bitcoin. The term describes what occurs when Bitcoin supplants a weakening currency. It becomes the preferred medium of exchange. And as Krawisz puts it, if this happens, the currency will rapidly lose value as Bitcoin supplants it. In such an event, the declining fiat currency spirals into hyperinflation as individuals urgently sell it off to acquire Bitcoin, driving a rapid and dramatic shift in monetary preference. In 2022, Jack Liu, the CEO of a company called RelayX, they used to develop software using BSV. He appeared in an interview on Crypto Vigilante. It is still a YouTube channel that covers digital asset topics. And in that interview, he shared his vision of what hyper-Bitcoinization might look like in practice, which is a sudden and dramatic shift that could catch many unprepared.
But when hyper-Bitcoinization happens, and you don't already hold the coins in cold storage, right? Then you could be right every day of your life that this thing's a shit coin, this thing's trading lower, this thing's gone from number 20, number 30, number 40, number 50. But that's like saying I'm right about housing this whole time in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, and then boom, subprime hits, and then boom, the banks are like in trouble. But here, there's an even bigger risk is that because the hyper-Bitcoinization will happen in a 24-hour period, if you don't already have Bitcoins at the beginning of that 24 hours, every single minute, every single hour that you are late to try and get Bitcoin during that 24-hour period, you might be buying Bitcoin at double the price of the previous hour, triple the price of the previous hour, 10x, 100x the price of the previous hour. And you are forced to do something that you've never done before in your life because you've never owned BSV. You've never known where to go buy BSV, whatever it's called, Bitcoin, right? You've never done this action. So you're not going to catch like the move. So again, the best case scenario is just have some Bitcoin now and then just let it go to zero if it goes to zero. And then life will continue the way we've known it. But if this super scenario happens, you have no time during that 24 hours to get some. Now that's fine. Like you can get it later. Like if you divide the population, 2 billion people, 21 million coins, if everyone's happy with having a few 100,000 Satoshis only, that's fine. I'm sure your life will be fine. But the way to make money in that scenario is to own the coins now, before anything happens.
At first, the concept of hyper-Bitcoinization, as described by Jack Liu and Krawisz, seemed distant and speculative, like something from a movie. But with today's global tensions, economic fragility, and a growing distrust in the US dollar and by extension fiat currencies, what once felt like fiction now feels eerily plausible. And in this video, we're going to examine the forces that are converging right now that would make hyper-Bitcoinization or hyperinflation of the US dollar not only possible, but increasingly likely. In a previous video, I broke down how Bitcoin's price is determined. If you haven't seen it yet, I will provide a link in the description below or as a pop-up somewhere on this screen. But let's quickly revisit the basics. Bitcoin's exchange rate rises when demand outpaces the available supply being offered for sale. Simple market dynamics. Because Bitcoin's issuance is scheduled and predictable, its supply is extremely limited at any moment. And that is why even a modest surge in demand can trigger hyper-Bitcoinization. Now, it is important to distinguish hyper-Bitcoinization to hyperinflation. Hyper-Bitcoinization happens to Bitcoin. Hyperinflation happens to fiat currencies. Hyper-Bitcoinization is demand-driven. It's a rush into Bitcoin as people seek stability. Hyperinflation, on the other hand, is supply-driven, where the central bank of that currency prints too much of it, and this would cause its value to reduce in relation to other. So the effects are opposites. When Bitcoin BSV hyper-Bitcoinizes, it gains purchasing power. A single coin, or Satoshi, will buy more and more. But when a fiat currency like the US dollar hyperinflates, its purchasing power collapses, so you get less and less for the same amount. Picture this. You are paid your monthly salary today, but by tomorrow, that paycheck can only buy you a meal, say. You'd have to spend it immediately before it completely loses value altogether. And that is the psychological effect of hyperinflation. Everyone's trying to get rid of their currencies in exchange for something else, something better that can actually hold its value. And this is not hypothetical. In just the last few decades, countries like Brazil, Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Sudan, Iran, and Turkey have actually experienced this. For Americans, this used to seem unimaginable. But today, with the global push to reduce reliance on the US dollar, a trend that's called Dedollarization, that fear is creeping closer to reality. While the probability remains low, US government policies under Donald Trump have arguably accelerated this trend. Nations and investors once confident in US assets are rethinking. Countries like Japan and China are reducing their exposure, and even private investors are ditching bonds that were once safe havens. For years, America has borrowed and spent, living on credit, while producing less. But like individuals and households, that cannot go on forever. Sooner or later, the bill comes due, and now the burden falls on the Trump administration to deal with this problem. Yet their actions, marked by arrogance, short-sighted nationalism, and antagonism towards friends and enemies alike, most especially with rising powers like China, they are making things worse. If the US dollar continues on this path, inflation could spiral out of control. It's unlikely, but not impossible, and the consequences would be felt globally. This concern is not mine alone. Central banks are buying gold. BTC advocates are urging people to hedge by buying BTC. But if you agree with the reasons behind buying gold or BTC, then BSV deserves your attention. Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, BitcoinSV, offers the similar arguments, and it actually has powerful advantages and capabilities. Unlike gold, it is digital. It's divisible to micro levels and instantly transferable. Transactions are cheap, fast, and publicly verifiable on-chain, which is perfect and ideal for our digital world. BTC, despite being digital, falls short. It is limited to only 7 transactions per second on-chain, and when it becomes congested, its fees skyrocket. That's not scalable. It's certainly not Satoshi's vision. BSV, however, fulfills the original promise of Bitcoin. It's already running the original protocol, it's unbounded, and it's already scaled that it can process up to 100,000 transactions per second on-chain, far beyond Visa or MasterCard. And with its fees a fraction of a cent, BSV is a usable digital cash today. Not someday, but now. Yet due to deliberate misinformation and suppression, it remains under the radar. As of now, when I'm recording this video, April 2025, BSV still trades around $30. It is a bargain for what it offers. So if you are considering buying or have already bought gold or BTC, ask yourself, why not BSV? As Jack Liu has said in his interview, when hyperbitcoinization hits, you do not have time to be learning how to buy BSV under pressure, because every hour, every minute, and every second makes a difference to the outcome you will get. Acquiring even just one BSV coin puts you ahead. The worst case situation would be, if it goes to zero, then so what? You've lost $30. But if it doesn't, and the system cracks, you will be ready when others are not. This small decision that you can make today can shape what kind of future you step into tomorrow. One of regret and scrambling, or one of preparedness and opportunity. Do not wait for the system to crack before you act. Be early, be ready, and be free to choose your own path when hyperbitcoinization comes. Thank you for watching. If you found value in this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who might benefit from it. You can also support this content directly with a tip in BSV or a few Satoshis. Your tip not only helps grow this channel, but it also boosts the video's visibility in the BSV ecosystem, where the best content rises through real peer-to-peer value. What are your thoughts on the current geopolitical and economic situation? Do you think that the US dollar is at risk of inflation, hyperinflation, or worse, collapse? How do you see the rise of China, Trump's economic policies, or the potential for hyperinflation or hyperbitcoinization playing out? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you and keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and stay one step ahead. This is Marquez from bsvsearch.com. Cheers.